Welcome back to the DevVlog. Let's look at workflow in Unity for team projects. This is one of our student projects here at USC, and they have volunteered to let me use them as a guinea pig to show you guys some best practice for workflows, particularly on working with a team. The big challenge when you're with a team is the shared assets and trying to keep coordinated when multiple people are working in the same scene file and things get conflicted. What do I turn in? What do I not turn in? How do I do this? How do I do it efficiently and effectively? All right, so first off, we just open the scene and let's take a look at where we're at. You notice that when we open the scene, we get error messages right off the bat. Let's start with the error message. Right down here, prefab instance something. 3 instances are missing the same prefab asset with a GUID, and that's just missing. If you click it, it will take you there in your scene to show you what's missing. I think what happened here is somebody has converted checkpoints, and it looks like there are 3 of them, has converted them to be a prefab, or at least this is a prefab, but they didn't commit the prefab that goes with it. So they committed the scene file, they didn't commit the prefab. The easy fix here is this person gets in there, submit that prefab, then we should be good. So lesson learned here, make sure you commit your prefabs. Sometimes people are confused. What do I commit? What do I not commit? Because there are things in Unity you do not commit. For example, let's go take a look at our prefabs in the folder here. And so there's a prefabs folder. What do we commit? We do commit the prefab file. We'll need that. We need to share it. That's where Unity stores all the information about that asset. And then people often ask, oh yeah, but do I or do I not commit this meta file? You do commit the meta file. We need the meta file. Unity stores all this extra information about how to treat that asset. Let me grab an example real quick. I don't know, I'll grab an FBX. Here's an FBX. When you're looking at an FBX file, in here on the inspector, there's all these settings, like just all these settings here. These are all stored in the meta file. See this? It's stored in the meta file. So yes, you do commit the meta file. Okay, so that's what that is. Whoever created checkpoint prefab, please get that committed. Speaking of meta files, here's this other one. A meta file exists, but its folder can't be found. That just means it's an empty folder, and that's okay. That's not too big a problem. The problem here, or the cause of that, is that Perforce does not store folders. Perforce only stores files. So if there are no files in that folder, and if we go and look, I think we'll find that is the case. It said it was streaming assets, audio, there we go, generated sound banks, Windows. You see somebody has marked it for add. They've marked the meta file for add, but there's no files in this folder. What that means is there's nothing for Perforce to store, so it does not create the folder. But Unity, when you open it up, sees the meta file, so it creates a folder at that time, and that should be okay. It shouldn't cause any trouble. Now that the folder exists, the next time I open, I should not get a warning on that. What else? What am I focusing on here? I'm focusing on this console window. It needs to be clean. When I boot up, one of the first things I want everybody to do is think I'm on a team. And if anything happens in here, I want you to fix it, right? This thing right here, this is a major deal. We need it fixed. We need it fixed yesterday, right? We need it fixed right away. So if everybody opens the game, and then they see all these errors in there, and they're like, oh, I don't know, it's somebody else's problem. We start getting into that not my problem mentality because we're spammed with tons of these errors. And frankly, we don't know what most of them mean. So we don't worry about it. I want you to worry about it. I want you to fix every single one the minute it happens, right? And so I should open up and it should be nice and clean and empty and I don't have any worries. That way, if something does go wrong, like I do make this mistake, I make a mistake like this, boom, it'll pop, it'll catch my attention. I'll immediately raise the red flag and we'll deal with it, right? Instead of ignoring it. Okay, speaking of, I'm going to pause right there while I go type in the Discord to tell people that this prefab is missing and see if we can get it found. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Just typed that into Discord. Let's move on. Let's talk about working together in a scene. It's a major issue, right? Always is. Scene organization. What is everything? Where is everything? And I would say this is very typical, but it's also not very easy to follow. Like, what the heck is Mesh 52? What is that? What the heck, right? Some stuff is pretty well organized and labeled. Light and fog, player. Yeah, I know what the player is, right? The players are player. Non-persistent game systems. Not sure, but it seems like it's organized. Okay, and then here's game systems. These presumably are the persistent game systems. All right, okay, it's all organized. But then there's these other things like mesh with just a number on them, terrain, which is hidden, tutorial canvas. So what is all this stuff? And it's just completely disorganized. How can we organize? Let me start by trying to figure out what these things are. What is the background? And my trick is, well, first you click on it and you get it highlighted, and then you can toggle it on and off right here to say what is that. So that background is this pink thing. It looks like there's another layer of parallax in front of it that is not the background. So I know that that's the far background. Okay, and then here comes the player and then some things. What is wall? Let's go with next. What is wall? What is wall? How is this a wall? Okay, this is a gameplay sequence. Effectively working with prefabs. Okay, this is a prefab. That's an instance of the same prefab. That's an instance of the same prefab. That's an instance of the same prefab. This appears to be nothing. I'm going to remove it. Together, this is a sequence of gameplay. So let's call this, instead of calling it wall, let's call it swing sequence 01. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go, that's a prefab. Why is that a prefab? Am I going to reuse it? Why am I making it a prefab? No, I'm not going to reuse it. That's not why I made it a prefab. Why did I just make that a prefab? I'll tell you why. Because maybe I want to tune it. Like maybe I want to tweak this. Let's say, for example, this swing ball, I want to increase its radius. I want to increase the radius of that swing ball. Okay, if I do that, if I touch anything here, increase the radius of this sphere collider here. Oh, that's not the one. I think it's actually the detection zone. Yeah, I want to increase the radius of the detection zone. I want it to be like that. Okay, I have just edited my scene, right? My scene has been edited. It means only I can work on this scene. No one else can work on this scene. We're going to have perforce conflicts. We don't like it. But instead, if it was a prefab, right, I don't have to edit the scene. I can edit the prefab. So let's open the prefab. I'm just going to double click. Open the prefab, and I can adjust the, what was it? This guy was what I was fooling with. And I said, okay, I can adjust it right here. Boop. And we'll just save the prefab, right? And we go back to our scene, and boom. See, the scene inherited it, but notice I didn't touch the scene. Welcome back. Okay, I went on a bit of a tangent there. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a gameplay sequence that I can edit as a prefab so that I do not have to touch my Unity scene. This will allow multiple team members to work within the same scene without stepping on each other's toes because we're in different prefabs. Okay, so the idea is you break your scene into lots of little prefabs, and I was showing an example of the swing sequence, but I ran into a little snag. Let's redo what I was doing there before. I'm going to go prefab, open in context. I can now edit the prefab. It's like, 1.2, right? And let's check out the prefab. Yeah, we're going to check out the prefab, not the scene, only the prefab. And I edited it, and I'm happy with that. That's great. And I didn't touch the scene. Only, what's this? Look, what's this? It says I have touched the scene. And let's go and look. I haven't saved it yet, though. So if I just, and I'm reflexively going to hit Control S, and it's going to say, yeah, I don't want that. Freaking Y's. I hate Y's. Okay. I don't care about that. Now, I have touched the scene. That's the whole point. I wasn't supposed to touch the scene. What did I do to the scene? I didn't touch the scene. Let's take a look. I'm going to use the diff capability of Perforce, and it'll show me what did I touch. I touched something called M version index, and there's several instances of that. What is that? I don't have anything called M version index. I didn't touch anything called M version index. What's going on? I tracked it down. It's ProBuilder. So I'm going to say something you guys hear me say a lot, which is these free packages, or not even free packages, that you install and it boosts your productivity. There's costs. And here's a cost. It's going to wreck your workflow. ProBuilder, I'm going to say, starting now, I'm going to recommend nobody ever uses ProBuilder in any team-based project. And this is why. Every time I touch a prefab with a ProBuilder on it, and for some reason, yeah, there's a ProBuilder on there that we totally don't need, it's going to cause me to edit my scene. And the whole point of what I'm showing right now is how multiple people can work in the same scene. Okay, so how am I going to fix this? I think the easy way to fix this is just remove the ProBuilder. Let's see if I can remove the ProBuilder asset from the prefab. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, let's see here. Prefab, opening context, sure. It's this thing. Frankly, I don't need that thing at all. I'm going to just move my swingables up to the root so they're not under these little wall objects anymore. These were used for prototyping and we're done with those. So I'm done with those. Okay, now I just have the swingables. Let's see if that changes if I do another edit. Let's go prefab, open in context. Let's take this first swingable and I don't know, let's fool this detection zone. I'll change the cone. Let's make the cone 26, okay. And I go back to my scene. Oh, my scene has now not been edited. Okay, so removing those ProBuilder assets seems to fix the problem. So there's a workflow that could maybe work. Ideally, I think you don't need ProBuilder. Don't use ProBuilder. Just put a cube. It was just a box, right? Just use a cube. If you must use ProBuilder, remove those things as soon as you can. Wrapping that rant up, I do now have it so that I can edit a gameplay sequence without touching the scene file. Okay, let's take it further. What else can we do? I mean, immediately, the player ought to be a prefab, right? I don't understand why the player is not a prefab. If I even look in the prefab folder, there is a player prefab that doesn't look like it's been maintained. Looks to me like this is some kind of thing that isn't accurate anymore. So I want to touch base with the team before I would just do it. But if this is my own personal project, I would absolutely just overwrite the player prefab with this. This is going to be the new player prefab, and I want that on all scenes. I don't want to have to duplicate all of this work. Like, what is all of this stuff? Look at all this stuff, and it's not on a prefab. Let's get that on a prefab. What else? Game systems. These are surely these are on every scene. In fact, let's go and see, is it on the tea house interior? Do we have game systems? Yeah, there they are. The game systems is there. So what do? That should be a prefab. So I'm just going to say, what are we doing here? Managers. Ooh, there's managers. Yeah, look at this. There is a game systems prefab. You're just not using it. What's going on? Right. So what you do is maintain these as prefabs in your scenes. So just like overwrite that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it as an example. I just won't commit it. I'm going to just replace that. That's toast. I'm taking it over. So I've taken that one over. Non-persistent game systems. I'm taking that one over. Those are mine now. I'm going to take over player. Boom, 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 boom. Player. Boom. Okay. Why did I feel the need to do that? Well, this is in multiple scenes. So if I make any changes to these things, I don't want to do it 3, 4, 5 times. I want that to just be in all the scenes. And like I keep saying, I want to be able to do it without touching the scene. So somebody else can be working on this gameplay sequence and they won't interfere with the work I'm doing with the player or the work that I'm doing with some, input system or something. I'm working on the input manager. It's in its own thing. And you'll see, maybe you all didn't know you could do this. They are prefabs nested inside prefabs. If I go and look at this prefab, so numerous things I can do, like select asset, just show me where is this thing. I just say, oh, it's this. Just double click there. Oh, look at this. I have, I don't know, the target frame rate object is also a prefab. And I'll just double click. I'll just say prefab, select asset. Oh, it's this, right? A prefab can be put into a prefab, and then that can be put in your scene, right? You can nest them as deep as you want, and this is a great way to handle your workflow. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Save my scene like that, and like I said, I'm going to remember not to commit those. Okay, what's the next thing I'm going to say in workflow? I started it here with this swing sequence. I'm going to break up the entire sequence of gameplay into a series of mini sections. And each section will be a single prefab, probably made of several prefabs underneath. So what's the next thing that we really experience? I don't know, what is this thing here? What is this guy? I'm trying to collect this, I don't know, what is this thing? What is over here? Oh, okay. Let's make this. Let's make this a prefab, maybe. So I got this pick-upable, and I got whatever that is. I don't know what that is. A pumpkin-looking thing. I don't know what that is, to tell you the truth. Oh, it's the grabbable. It's been changed. Let me change the graphic. Okay. So yeah, let's make this whole thing a gameplay sequence. So I got that. Let's give it a name. I'm going to create an object. And I want it like right up here. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to add it to, I'm going to create an empty. I want to organize it. So I created it as a child of my gameplay sequence. I don't want it as a child. I just want it in that location. So hold on a second. I'm going to call this roll ball sequence 01. And that I'm just going to now pull it out from under. I just wanted it there in my hierarchy. Okay, so this is ball sequence 01. What is this thing? This block 1 is part of ball sequence. So I'm going to put that on there. Yeah, see, we're organizing, right? The scene is huge. What is this thingy, this licky thingy? Sweet pickup 1. That's part of the ball sequence. What about this? This press E to lick. I'm trying to click through to that canvas. Is it that canvas? No. If I keep sweet canvas, that sounds promising. Nope. Keep clicking through. No, health canvas. No, that's not health canvas, is it? Oh, look at this tutorial canvas. Boop, 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 boop. All the tutorial stuff is on a tutorial canvas. All right, I'm going to want to split that up, I think, because I want E to lick, E to lick. These are separate thingies, right? And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplicate here, duplicate, and I'm going to take this. I want this one. I don't want this one. So taking that out, left mouse to grapple. That's not part of this one. I'll leave that one on the main ball form. Oh, this is the lick, right? This is the, I'm sorry, this is not, this is part of ball form. Okay. I'm going to leave that one. Pull and push. I want to keep pull and push. So that's on that one. Ascend, descend. Nope, not on that one. Swing, not on that one. AD to move image, no. Jump, no. Okay. This one is going to be, I don't know, tutorial canvas. And I'm going to put this on what I was calling ball sequence, but it's not a ball sequence anymore. This is the push sequence. Okay, this is the push sequence. Block 1. Block 1, sweet pickup, and the tutorial, this thing and this thing, that is a gameplay sequence. So that's a little gameplay sequence. Let's make that a prefab. Boom, that's a prefab. And let's do the next one. The next one is going to be this little sequence. This is the ball sequence now. So I'm going to do the same thing. I just need to put it, on something. I say create an empty, create an empty. And this is ball sequence 1. And I'll just put it there. And what goes on ball sequence? This E to lick ball, definitely salty pickup, goes on there. What else goes on there? Most of this. So I'm going to duplicate this again. And the things, I'll make this one be this is part of the ball sequence. So I'll remove it from there. This is not part of the ball sequence. This is part of the ball sequence. So I'm going to remove it from there. And that, and that, and that, and that. So this is part of the ball sequence. Cool. And now let's see. If I turn off ball sequence, that's all part of ball sequence. And this is the rest of the tutorial canvas. Okay, let's save my scene. Oh, let's make a prefab. Save my scene, right? What's next? I'll call this swing sequence 02. Actually, while I'm at it, I want to put the tutorial that was part of the first swing sequence into the first swing sequence. That was the grapple and swing. So let's, I'll do what I've been doing, which is duplicate this canvas and the left mouse to grapple and the swing are boop, oops, boop, boop. This goes onto the swing sequence 01. And here comes a moment where I want to modify my prefab. I'll tell you how I tend to do it. I am modifying my scene by doing this because I'm moving something out of the scene into the prefab. I'm just going to do it right here in my scene. And then my swing sequence needs to be updated. So I'm just going to do that. And that'll update the swing sequence. So now the swing sequence includes those elements. Okay, look at that. And now we're getting our game under control. Ball sequence. What's after the ball sequence? Okay, I wanted to do the second swing sequence. So let's call this swing sequence 02 right here. Okay, what is swing sequence 02? Let me create an empty. Swing sequence 02. And pull that off of that object. Okay, and what goes on swing sequence 02? Probably some of the canvas, right? The ascend descend goes on there. So let's do a duplicate. And I'm going to say only the ascend descend is part of that. So that's going on there. What else goes on there? There's a swingable right there. Swing point. Level 1, ceiling, no, ceiling. This thing. This entire gameplay object. And goes on there. And maybe the one next to it? Yeah. So these two objects are going to go onto my swing sequence 02. Boom. Okay, and that's a prefab. Cool. So that's, again, the whole point is to allow me to work in there, to work in the prefab now when I want to work on the gameplay instead of working on the scene. And we can keep doing that. And you see what I'm saying here. Break it into chunks. And at this point, hopefully you understand the benefit is that I can work on this without modifying the scene. That's what I'm trying to get to. But in order to get there, I had to modify the scene a whole bunch. Like I keep modifying the scene here. All these times I make a prefab, I'm modifying the scene. I don't want to do that. So the workflow, the way you work is don't just put everything in your scene and then come around later to make prefabs. That's kind of a waste of time. Make the prefab to begin with, right? Before you even start, just make yourself the empty scene, throw your player in there, and start blocking out. The thing you want to do is start blocking out your game with just empty prefabs, right? Instead of I'm looking at a full game here. Let's start with, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll go new scene. Just give me a, I don't know. Just give me what, I have no idea what you guys work with. Okay, so I'm going to say, oh, I'm going to need my, I need my player in the scene. Yeah, and I need my, I know I need my gameplay system and my non-persistent gameplay system. I know I need those. Okay, where'd the player end up? Right there. And so I'm going to just like, I need a floor to walk on. So I'm just going to say, I don't know, create me a plane, I guess. And I like to work at 0, 0. So it's 0, 0. Put the plane at 0, 0. All right, where's the player at now? Right there. Where's the plane? Boom. The player's origin is not at the bottom. Okay, that's a weird workflow. There's a workflow for you. Usually we put the player's origin at the bottom so that we can just put it right on the ground. But okay, I mean, who cares, right? So okay, I'll put the player a little bit above the ground. You know what? I'm going to raise the player. Raise the player up above the ground. All right, and then let's just make this like 1,000 by 1,000 by 1,000. I don't know. Right? Okay. Whatever. Oh, am I not blocked in? I am blocked in. Okay, there we go. Now I'm blocked in. Okay, so there's a little plane. Let's see if it works. There's a bunch of stuff probably missing from the scene. Hey, look at it. Okay, I don't have my camera set up, but whatever. Wahoo! Okay, this is my workflow now. I'm gonna create a new gameplay section. I want to create let's do create 3D object cube, and I'm gonna say this is gonna be the tutorial sequence number 1, right? Tutorial. I don't know what we call it. Swing sequence 01. Spell it right. Sequence 01. And I think that's probably going to be. Whoa, did I just? Yeah, no. Okay, that's going to be here, but it's way too small. I need to make it bigger. Let's take the box collider. I don't need the mesh, right? I'm going to remove that. But I do want the box collider. So let's edit the box collider here. And boop. Let's make it, let's embiggen that thing. I don't know, let's just do it right here. Oh, I don't know. 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, cool. Let's edit that sucker. Okay, I think this is my gameplay sequence. Right there's my gameplay sequence. This is gonna be where that first sequence is. And now duplicate, and then the next thing comes up was the push sequence 01, right? And then let's move that guy on over. And let's see here, boom, boom. That's cool. And then I had like a ball sequence, so I'm gonna duplicate. Okay, and let's go ahead and I'll show you how to do this workflow. I'll create a new folder. Create a folder. We already have a temp folder. Matte. Okay, I'm gonna say that goes in the folder. That goes in the folder. That goes in the folder. File save as. I don't know. We'll call it Matte2 maybe or something. What scene is this? Scene Matte2. Whatever. Okay. Sweet. And so there you go. I just created some things. Oh, I'm going to move this guy over here. Move that one over to there. Okay, fine. Cool. And you can even maybe put the mesh cube on there if you want. But the point is that I've just blocked in something. And I don't care what it is. It's just a thing. It's just these prefabs. All the scene has now is prefabs. So the Matte2 scene, I should be able to work on these sequences and I don't need to do anything. So let's go and work on swing sequence 01, right? So we'll go prefab, open in context. What do I want to do with it? I wanted to put, I don't really remember where they were, but I wanted to put the swing point in there. Let's actually take a look. Yeah, swingable. I want that thing. So I'll prefab, select asset. That's the asset that I want. So I'm going to go prefab, open asset, and let's just put some of that in there. Swingable. Let's put a swingable. I'm going to put a swingable in. Boom. I'll put another swingable. Boom. I don't know. Put another swingable. Okay. And I can go back and look, there you go. See, I'm working on my scene, and I'm not touching my scene, right? My scene didn't get modified. In fact, I will touch the scene now because I didn't bother setting up the camera. Let me move the prefab to just be, near me so that I can interact with it. Here we go. And hit save and play. Right. Oop, my camera's a little zoomed in. Let's zoom out the camera. Oh, we probably want ortho. I think it's ortho. There we go. I don't know. Something like that. And here I am. I'm like, oh, woohoo. Woohoo. And I'm playing my game and I'm making tweaks, right? Making tweaks to what I want to do with the gameplay, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I want to make some tweaks to that. Don't make the tweaks inside the scene. Just always go to the prefab, open in context, and fool with them. Do whatever you want. Like, oh, okay, this one, let's make it up there, and then I take this one, and I'll put it over here, and you know, okay, cool. Let's try that now. And I did not touch my scene. I didn't touch my scene, right? Again, I had to do the camera again because I was in gameplay mode, orthographic, and I said, I don't know what I'd say. Pushed out here. And then, woohoo, wow, woohoo, you know, whatever, right? I'm testing out my scene. I'm editing my scene, and I'm not touching my scene file because it's in a prefab. That's how you do that. That's the basic workflow of how to do this. Let's see if we can take it to the next level. Here we are back in our scene, and we've got things worked out like this. Now, the point of this is to divide the tasks up into smaller pieces so that we're not doing everything in the scene and we can work multiple people at the same time. So you want to divide your prefab by workflow task. Right, you do the collisions with one person, and then another person at some other time comes in and puts in the art. I think that's how you guys are working. So assuming that's right, let's try to support that kind of a workflow. And so what I'm doing now is I'm trying to find your collision geometry, trying to see where that even is for this area. So it's something here that we determined is the mesh, is the art. But there's something behind there that looks like a collision geometry. What's this? That's the mesh collider. Okay, cool. All right, and so you've got this prefab. This prefab is, come on, zoom out, show me the whole thing. Okay, this prefab is at least some of the geometry, maybe all the geometry. The collision geometry. You've got that as a separate node. That's pretty convenient. That'll let one person work. I would recommend, again, it's based on the tasks. If you have one person that makes collision geometry and another person that makes gameplay, then the way we have it set up now is good. The collision geometry person can work while the gameplay person is working, not stepping on each other's toes. That's a pretty common way of working, particularly when you have a collision mesh here, not just collision primitives. Your gameplay person probably would set this up with primitives, just cubes and boxes, planes and primitives, and then they get all their gameplay working with that, and then a second person comes in and lays in this collision geometry over the top of that. And then a third person comes in and lays in the art. So let's see, where is the art? Cool, we want to do the same thing with the art. We don't want to just throw these in as directly in the scene. I think the way you all are working is one person lays in the terrain colliders, and then another person comes along later and lays in the art. So let's make a prefab for that. So I'm going to just do the same thing I keep doing. I'm going to make an empty thing, and I'm going to call this the art. And I don't want just one object for all the art. I want one for each concept of people that could be working at the same time. So I think you probably have one background person and another foreground person. I'm going to call this ground. Oh, come on. Ground terrain. I don't know. Right. Art. I want to say art on it. In fact, let's put art in front. Art. Ground terrain, right? Okay, that's not part here. And then that's going to be a prefab. And what I'm going to put on there is probably all of this, right? I think all of these are sprites. All of these are part of the ground terrain. Tutorial terrain. Hold on. What are you? What are you? I can't tell what that is. That's one of them. That I don't even know what that is. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely doing some imaginary. I'm making my best guess of what I think is your game. Black terrain. What is black terrain? I don't know. That one. Okay. So yeah, I think these are probably part of the terrain based on their name and their location. Rock 1. Rock 1 too. I think this is probably part of that artwork. So I'm organizing, right? I'm going to try to organize. Cool. What's your parallax? What's that? This is part of the background, I'm thinking. Let's put it. Can we put it on the background? Is there some reason that can't be a child of the background? Can I? Does it still work? Let's see if I broke anything. Looking good. I definitely see some parallax. I think everything is working. Okay, there's my tutorial. That's a prefab, right? The art canvas that I made, art terrain, sorry, that's a prefab. This is more art, right? So this is, what do we call this stuff? We call this like foreground art, maybe. Let's just call that foreground art, right? Okay, so let's make an object. I'm just going to say create an empty foreground art. I'm going to say, yeah, get that off of that object. And I'm going to take the rocks and the bubbles. Those are going on there. And I'm going to do this. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, look at this. Okay, hold on. Yeah, the foreground art. Let's open it. This is a piece of foreground art, not all the foreground art. It's just that one sequence, right? So maybe what I ought to do here, let's call this is, I don't know, swing rocks. I'll call it art also. I want the artist to know that's art. Swing rocks, number 1. All right. Okay. And let's go back to our scene. And this is swing swing rocks 01. That's what I called it. So you see what I'm saying here is get the things, all the things, and organize them, and try to make, ultimately what you want to do is organize it so all you have is nothing but a few prefabs, not a lot of prefabs, just a handful of prefabs in here. So like this should be under an object. I'm going to say here, create a prefab, create empty, art foreground. Okay, and I'm going to put this off of there, and I want to put that on there. Right? Oh, you know what I probably should do is I always like to zero these out. Okay, put that on there and put that on there. So this is my foreground art. All my foreground art is going to be under here, and that's going to be a prefab. And yeah, that's a prefab with a prefab on it. And that's going to let me really have lots of flexibility with where I'm working and moving things around, okay? So that's the goal. You can keep running with what I'm doing here and see that when you're done, you should have a very small scene file. Your scene file should just have, you know, let me organize it up a little bit. You have your art foreground should be up here, and your, what else did I make? Where's the terrain? I made art terrain, didn't I? Art, ground terrain. That'll be a prefab on here. And then all these things. Well, what is this? This is my gameplay. So I'm going to make an object. I'm going to create an empty. This is gameplay. And that all of these things. Oh, hold on. I want to make sure it's a, I want to put it 0, 0, 0. I want to put it 0, 0, 0. I want these on there. And that's in there. Okay, and then like let's put it up here. And then all this other stuff. Most everything you ought to be able to either put it into one of these sorts of prefabs, or there may be a few loose things, but mostly get rid of them. Organize them by workflow. And if the workflow is like individual people, I see somebody with a name, you can name them by their names. But the point is to not edit the scene. Once you've set up your scene with your layers, you do need exclusive checkout to get that done. But then once you've done it, nobody touches the scene ever again, or as infrequently as possible. Cool. So that's a workflow, and I think you'll also find it's much better way of trying to find all your stuff. Like, where is my freaking stuff? So yeah, I want to tune this little swing jump. I'm not happy with the way the swing jump is working. Where is that in my scene? Oh, where am I going to find it? Well, it's gameplay. It's the swing sequence. Yeah, that's right. That's the swing sequence. And also, I should be able to just click on it, and it should take me there. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully, you can follow along with what I've done there, and you see the benefit that I get by organizing my scene and using prefabs, and then splitting my prefabs two ways. Split your prefab by workflow. So like art and gameplay are two different workflows. And so two different people can work at the same time on those separate workflows. And then the other thing that I've done is within this prefab, I have separate sub-prefabs that are splitting that up by section. And that'll allow like two gameplay designers or gameplay engineers or gameplay artists or whoever to work at the same time within the section. So if I'm doing swing gameplay, I can tune it here. If we're doing swing art, I do that here. And I'll be doing it within the prefabs and then trying to avoid checking out the file. So that leaves us with the problem of ProBuilder. If you, I recommend you just don't use it. Don't use it because it breaks this workflow. But if you insist you must use it, it's this big benefit for us for some reason, then you just need to be careful with it. If you are done with a ProBuilder asset, like we saw in the swing things, remove the ProBuilder assets as soon as you can. If you still need them, then anytime you touch a prefab with a ProBuilder in it, it's going to edit the scene, and most of those are not necessary. So when you're in this groove of this workflow and you make a change, like I'll do an example again here. Like let's do the gameplay, the push sequence. Let's go in here and in fact, let's do something visible. Let's do prefab open asset. Let's do something visible. I'll scale up my block. I'll scale it up more. It's too small. I want it bigger. The local scaling, what is this? Yeah, can I just make it like 5? There you go. Okay, so it's just like, it's bigger. Now let's go back out, and then it says, oh, you touched the file. I touched the file, better save it. I'm going to say to myself, no, I only touched the prefab, so I can reopen the scene. Don't save. And my change is preserved. My change is fine, and I didn't have to check it out. Okay? So that's a way you can work. You just have to put a little more thought into it. Every time you touch a thing, say to yourself, I want to work in the prefab. I'm going to work in this prefab. And go into the prefab as deep as you can to do your work. So I'm going to go into like this prefab and work on these and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to edit something here in this rock. No, I'm going to, I don't know, do a thing, move it around, right? Whatever. Okay. I adjust my rock. I'm happy with my rock. Go back out. Cool. It didn't touch my file. I look for the star. It didn't touch my file. We're all good. No problem. If it did touch my file, then you just fix it with reload scene, and no need to commit. Okay, so yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think of that workflow. I know it's not practical for this game, which is so far along, to refactor like I'm showing. I'm just using this as an example. But if you're earlier in your project, if you're making prototypes, please embrace this workflow, and I think you'll find it's going to be super smooth later on down the line when you have 20 people on your team all trying to share the same file. Okay, that's it for today. I'm going to hit edit with this, and I will see you all later.